Good moogly morning. How are y'all doing in the southern hemisphere? Don't know why I said that, but I hope you're all enjoying and staying safe out there in Americas and basically in the entire world. I am your random host, Paul, and I'm with my co-host, Chili. How you doing today, Chili?
I'm not bad, thank you. How about you? Also, random host. It's not like we pulled you off the street for this one episode.
I mean, that's how I feel every time I come on. It's like, oh, yes, random, let's go. Now, I've been a bit, I would say, under the weather. I've had a really shitty, I'd say a really shitty mental week. And a lot of injuries, actually. I obviously got oil burns, and I've still got the scars on my hands from cooking. And then today, my nan dropped a giant glass bowl over the floor. And because I don't really wear socks or shoes indoors, mainly because of my condition of where my leg is swollen, it's quite swollen where I can't wear my proper shoes, and it's really tight on my leg. What sucks. But I accidentally stepped on a glass shard while I was trying to run out and go grab some shoes while I was cooking some pasta, and it cut my foot. But luckily, no glass went in my foot.
Okay.
So
still, ouch.
It came out. It bled for a little bit. So I had to run upstairs, clean up my foot so it didn't get infected, and obviously put some. I put this cream that basically disinfectant cream on it. What stung a little bit, and then put plaster over it, and it's fine now. The bleeding stopped. It's I got thick fucking feet anyway, so. Place didn't pierce that far, but yeah, and then I had a couple of mental breakdowns where I couldn't sleep, so I didn't sleep till gone 4 p.m. today, and so I was really upset about that because I need to sleep for the podcast and for Raid, so it's a nightmare. But how Chili, how is your week after you having your mind-numbing fishing experience? How does it feel to be finally free of the game for a bit?
I've taken a break from Final Fantasy 14 because there's a lot of hype next week because of what we're going to talk about in a bit, and because I had to fish for 12 hours a day for 9 days, so now I'm taking a break from the video game. Though I'm willing to talk about it because I'm hyped for what's happening soon. So yeah,
all the hype.
Also, my friends over from EU as well also congratulated you because I told them and I linked it, hyping you up. And they were very impressed by you, by the way, doing that dedication to get that title.
We got a lot of love on Twitch while I was doing it, so.
Yeah, it kind of put my streams to shame, and I'm sitting there playing games and raiding, and you're just sitting there fishing and pulling more views. I'm like, wow, fishing OP apparently, goddamn.
Yeah, I've got 10 viewers. Yeah. I'm like, what the hell? Why?
Can we start the podcast off with a prayer from the one and only Saint Chili?
Thank you, Lord, for all the fish that I have given in, for the points that I have received for the saints of whatever. Thank you that I have got in the top 12.
Thank the 12.
Thank the 12 for the top 12.
Oh.
There we go. That works, right?
Excellent.
You must start every stream by giving a prayer, Chili. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get every stream. You have to thank the 12.
For the fish.
I'm sorry, Chili. The last time I was on here, they got you to fly, and now you have to pray before every stream. You're gonna stop inviting me back.
But that's our guest, Chaos, by the way. Hey, Chaos.
Howdy ho. From across the pond. It's me, Chaos.
Yay. How are you doing?
I am I'm doing well. I didn't fish for 48 hours straight, and I haven't stepped on any glass, so yeah. I don't have any cool stories for the week. I bought a house in Final Fantasy 14. That's the coolest thing that's happened to me.
I mean, that's the equivalent of both standing on glass and not sleeping for a week. Really?
Yeah, honestly, I streamed last night. I streamed last night, and I started building my house on stream. And I usually stream for about 4 hours, and I felt pretty good. I was like, yeah, I got a lot done. And one of my FC mates came to check out my progress. They're like, oh, let's see what you did. And they walk around the house, and they're like, how long were you working on this? I was like, like 4 hours, 4 hours or so. They're like, and this is all you got done? And I was like, oh, my heart, my creative housing heart. But I'm no slouch when it comes to the housing. I got like walls coming up through the ceiling out of the basement, and I got chairs being floated, and I got lofts and whole other rooms. I turned this 2-floor house into like a 4-floor house. So it's pretty extreme. Pretty extreme.
I actually like that. Like that's like the one thing I love about Final Fantasy is that they do have this like housing thing where a lot of people can be very creative with the housing. I know Arby from She Heals I Tank. She did the FC one, and she made the obviously the FC into like a maze for like other stuff, and now she's made it into a screenshot plays, and I'm just like, yeah, the one like that's the one thing MMOs can kind of take away from this is that Cyberpunk, not Cyberpunk, sorry, I've got Cyberpunk on my brain. The Final Fantasy does have like the probably like the best housing and player creativity.
Well,
you don't see that in WoW. You don't see that in
Yeah, if only if it was more readily available.
well,
Yeah,
in Final Fantasy 11, everyone got a little house. Everyone got their own little instance room. In
Yeah,
their
but
side
that
scene.
really didn't count.
But-
I mean, that barely was.
But the thing is though, most people like because the crafting wasn't like 14 where you've got crafting jobs, so you just crafted on your character. The rooms were basically like mystic prey holes to hope that the crafting gods will give you loot. Because there was no like real like loot chances in crafting like in 14. So there was like rituals of like, well, if you want to craft this scorpion harness, put your plants down facing east while also facing the moon, and then hoping that it's the midnight of whatever day of the week, and then maybe you crafted the thing you wanted. None of this actually mattered, but people still followed it like it was a rule.
I still follow it. If I was playing 11 right now, I actually was playing on one of the I guess you'd call it like free server, I guess, for a little bit. And I just remember I was like, all right, so what day is it? I'm supposed to fight my monsters facing east because it's fire day. All right, nice. I'm like, well, I don't think this really does anything, but you never
still
know.
did it. You still hope that the full moon was out and you're facing west and you're using ice crystals and it's ice day, that this will increase your chance to craft this one item. Or that this boss will drop this one item you wanted. Because otherwise you'd have to wait 24 hours in real life for it to spawn again. Because some enemies
when
spawned
games are real.
Yeah. Some enemies took up to 72 hours in real life to respawn.
Yep.
So
I remember that.
yeah,
I'm
hidden
so
notorious
I'm
monsters.
so happy I did play Final Fantasy 11.
I
take
remember
that
when
back,
I
Paul.
got my
You take it back.
I remember when I got my first ever ban thanks to a camping monster. There was this Mikote, it was a Mithra back in 11 that was stood at this notorious monster for about, I want to say about 4 weeks without moving. So I thought it was just a bot. So for a laugh, Taru's did a welcome where they put their arms back and they thrust forward. Basically, imagine a Lalafell where they thrust their hips forward for some reason. So I had, we went to go camp
Tuesday?
we went to go camp this monster, and so there was like 4 of us in the party. So we all decided to spam the welcome motion. Look like we're humping their legs. We got reported.
I was gonna say, were you reported?
Yeah, we were reported. Something like 4 of us, and it wasn't
Talk
like we were
about
chat spamming either.
toxicity.
But yeah, we were. I was young, a teenager, and they'd been there for a month, so I thought they were a bot. I should have just reported them, but no one reports back then. Reporting them for possibly in a bot might have banned me anyway. So, young days of Chile.
Young days of Chile.
Uh,
So yeah, I think
Chili was fresh.
I was way too young to play Final Fantasy 11. Like, when did they come out?
came out around the same time as WoW, like early 2000s.
2002, apparently.
Yeah.
So how what's that? Oh, no, that's 5. To 2, 6, 7. So I was 7. I was 7 when this came out.
Yeah. You could have been farming.
Yeah, if you had started at 7, you would have had a 75 by now.
I think the only thing, or the only game I played, because I don't think I had a PS2 then. I was like 7, so I started the PS1, and I was playing Final Fantasy 7. It was kind of weird because my mum didn't really let me play it because apparently it was like, but I enjoyed it. And fucking was it the Hercules game? Well, I think it's the true Dark Souls game. That fucking game was great. Praise Hercules.
Now, the true
Very
Dark
Pac-Man.
Souls game is Sonic 3. Everyone
No,
knows. Anyone who's played Sonic 3 knows the bit I'm talking about.
The true Dark Souls game is Echo, the dolphin game.
My sister
think
loved that game.
I think Echo the Dolphin is the only game where I've not actually ever got past the starting area.
To this day, I haven't met a person who's beaten it. I know people who have been like, "Oh yeah, I think I beat that game." I'm like, "You think? You think?"
I don't think I ever worked out to
get
get past the first screen. I rented it from like a rental store back then. It was like a little not Blockbusters. It was like an independent one that existed. And I was like, "Oh, cool! This looks cool. I like side scrolling games like this. What do I do? What do buttons do? I'm confused. How do I get past what? Why am I in just a pool of water? Is this the whole game?" It wasn't until I was older I realised that you could like do other stuff than this little pool of water that you started in. I thought that was just the game for some reason.
Yeah, speaking of being underwater, what about Blitzball? You think we'll ever get Blitzball in Final Fantasy 14?
I still think that Blitzball would have been great in Stormblood with the idea I had. You know how the Guardians controlled Alamigo and stuff like that, and Kagane, and there's not really any riots that were going on. Yeah, there was like the underground resistance, but there was nothing major. I would have loved if Garlemald paid for like Blitzball tournaments just to keep the masses like busy. They're like, the best people who win the tournament get prize money and can also join our army.
What was it? I every time I run the new dungeon,
Which one's that?
and I'm fighting the little water sprite guy.
Nixie.
Boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time they do he does the AoE, the room AoE. I just whisper to myself, Blitzball confirmed.
Oh, well, when you're on the cloud and yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, cool. You're on the cloud and there's like that big old thing of water that comes up, and I'm just like, Blitzball confirmed. That's it right there, boys.
Well, if I'm right, they've done internal testing for Blitzball. Like, they weren't sure if they were going to
tell us, Yoshi P.
Well, they weren't. If I'm right, they weren't sure if they were going to make it PvP, like real time PvP, like how we've got the Feast. And then there was also tested to see if it was work more like how Vermilion works in a way. There was 2 different ways that we were playing on how it actually was going to be implemented in the game. It did go through like design. I don't know if it actually got playable, but I know it went through design phases at one point with like several ideas thrown at how they might want to do it. I don't know if anything ever came fruition or if it all just got scrapped, but yeah, I know there was some sort of ideas on the table.
It's very hard to do Blitzball though, like obviously a Final Fantasy 14 sense. Because Blitzball FF. No, I want a goddamn image. So in this, like, obviously you're swimming and stuff, and the swimming that we've got now, pretty good. But I wouldn't. I would want it, but I wouldn't see how it would basically come into the Final Fantasy 14 world.
Yeah, because it was basically turn-based in Fantasy 10, where you would throw your ball to someone, they would swim around, and they'd throw their ball to someone, they'd swim around. You'd try and get a goal eventually. Now, if it was PvP, you'd somehow have to have the ability to like swim around, throw to another person, and then that person gets locked in place, and then everyone else gets locked in place while that person swims.
And then we would be stuck with the yearly Blitzball release in Final Fantasy 14. It'd be like FIFA, FIFA, Madden, FIFA. And then we'd be stuck with that.
I mean, it would be pretty weird because so I have like an image in my head. So it's like how you would do Blitzball. Obviously, you'd have the circle of water and you're swimming around in it. But obviously they'd have to make the sort of own moveset, I would say. Like how you play, you would probably play it like kind of FIFA or like basketball, where a team throws or passes the ball, and say if your character is close to the ball, you have a move that has a chance to try and intercept, kind of thing. But be like, you have to time it right or some shit like that. But I don't know how you could possibly do that in Final Fantasy 14 because you do have the movement mechanics to do that. But I do think I do think the console people would probably get a big rise from that because I think it's easier on console to kind of play those sorts of games, or at least on a controller to play those sorts of games.
Well, listen, you guys on your computers out there, you PC Master Race, if you're listening now, you guys, you got first-person shooters, all right? Let us console players have Blitzball, all right?
And they have Vermilion as well. Vermilion, if you're talking about that, is better on PC and mouse than it is controller.
Yeah.
Oh, I have the goal, and I think I said this last time, but my goal is I just want to do everything in Final Fantasy 14. Every piece of content, I just want to do it. And I don't think I'll ever go back to Vermilion because it was just I play on not PC, I play on PS4, and it's just so grueling to be like some of the boss rounds that you have to do. It's like go use your special attack, and it's like by the time I remember how to use the special attack of my minions running around, I already die, and I'm like, well, that was pointless.
Do you know what
I might have to do is
Chaos, the last time you were here, we made a point goal for Chile. Yeah. Now, I would I'm going to fucking hate myself for doing this, but I want to make a point goal for myself.
Oh, let's do it.
If we get to, I'm going to say should we say 50k or 25? Oh, I don't know what we want to do. But for me, to try and do every achievement for Vermilion.
I'll join you, Paul, because I can't have someone go through that hell on their own. Plus, it gives me a chance to do the tournament, so I might get a chance of that minion that Harvey wants.
Yeah, because Chaos, I respect you for saying you want to do anything. I lost that drive at the beginning of the year. My drive right now is sort of I come on, I play with my friends, I raid, and that's it. I don't actually do that much content. Personally, I haven't finished the story yet. I got to the dungeon where I could unlock Expert, and that's it. I haven't actually completed the story yet. Which I've heard from sources. I'm going to say his name's Flatas. He actually played it and said it was underwhelming, and so I kind of do want to have an opinion about that yet, so I might do that during the week. But I know I need something to do in Final Fantasy, and I know Chile had his fishing.
I did.
And I kind of want to do Vermilion.
I don't.
It's just funny you say that because I almost have the opposite effect. When I first started playing Final Fantasy 14, it was because I had a bunch of friends playing it, and now, almost none of the people that I originally started playing with play the game anymore, and for whatever reasons, kids, jobs, whatever. Didn't burnt out on the game. This game's been around for too long now. Not too long. Just
Is
kidding.
it 6 or 7 years now?
Yeah, and it's like I got in a little later than them, so pretty much like all the people that I was playing with don't play anymore. And now like I kind of like ran out of like things to do with people. So now I'm just like focusing on, oh, you know what? I can just do solo stuff. I'm a strong independent Final Fantasy 14 player. I don't need no man, like
I don't need no man doing it. I don't need no friends. I can do it on my own.
I cry myself to sleep sometimes, but I'll get through it. It's okay.
I mean, don't we all? That's like the smallest things with like COVID. I think it's like really put our emotions at large because we're always in our house. So I don't know about you, but that's because my therapist got COVID, and so I can't. She's not taking calls, and there's no emergency backup line. So when I have a mental breakdown, I can't just like call up and be like, "Yo, I need to talk." So I'm like, and I haven't got any. I haven't got my meds. I haven't like restocked on my meds either. So I'm like, and when I say meds, I mean like antidepressants and all that shit.
Yep.
All that weird and wonderful stuff. But
that sounds terrible. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, I don't. I kind of find it weird because when people say, "Oh, I'm sorry," like that's happening, I was like, so am I, because I'm just like, I don't want it to happen. I want it to be normal. And I know a lot of people, because I actually was watching Life is Strange. I was watching a playthrough of that again because it is such a great game. If you haven't played or watched Life is Strange, go fucking like watch someone play it or fucking buy the game itself. The game's great as well. Done by Square Enix. So
sold.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a simp.
Yeah, so I'm sorry you cannot say that on stream no more.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. I'm sorry.
I get killed for that, but say tier 3 sub. I'm not a tier 3 sub over it, but it is actually a great game with great music, and it made me realize that in these times that we have right now, obviously with COVID, and it's still going through there, we are getting vaccines. If you're sad, if you're not doing good, talking to someone, messaging someone is a step forward. A step in the right direction. But other than that, we're going back to Final Fantasy. What the fuck was we talking about Final Fantasy?
We were talking about Blitzball and doing
Blitzball,
everything
right.
in Vermilion.
But no, Blitzball, I want to say, I feel like if it's going to work as like a... it's not going to be player versus player. Well, should we say, it's not going to be interactive player versus player. I feel like what they could do is they could add like a load of NPCs that you can like go around the world, and well, this also would be world content as well, I guess. Like hire them, like with MGP, and then you can like make your own team out of various NPCs that you find around the world, and then you can play against other people like that. Whether it's scripted, how it actually plays, or whether you actually have control, I don't know. But that's the only way I could feel like it could work easily.
So like the squadron system, where like you do like deeds around the house and like deeds around the world, and like people will like show up in like the menu and be like, oh, you know what? I'm just so inspired. I want to join your Blitz team or some shit like that.
Not just that, but like have them we got Triple Triad where you go around and challenge different people, and you can sometimes win their cards. Like have like certain people like around the world with like a symbol above them, then you can hire them for your Blitzball team.
See, that would be good. That could be a nice like single player side bit, but I do think they would get their money worth out by making it player versus player.
Well, no, as I said, you make your own team like this, and then you can challenge other people's teams with your team.
Yeah, but I think the player versus player aspect, where you could have like obviously the feast kind of mentality.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would enjoy that more. But I do know there would be a niche where people would enjoy, like you could have like two sets of it. You can have like the offline or kind of play. Yeah. Or Square Enix, you could be like, you know what, we're just actually going to make this an own fucking game, become an esports.
Don't think separate games are included with an MMO, because
now we're finally talking brass tacks here.
Now we're talking Final Fantasy 11, because Triple Triad is included in 14, right? It's
Yeah.
inside the game. 11 had it as a completely separate subscription service on top of your main subscription service. That was part of the client that you could open up. So you could either play Final Fantasy 11 through the Play Online viewer or open up Triple Triad Master, which you had to pay an extra sub to play it, which nobody did because it was bad.
I mean, Square Enix, if you want to, hire us and then like give us a small team, we could make this game, and a lot of people would play it because a lot of Final Fantasy players love the Blitzball. It's kind of weird.
I know people who literally they played Final Fantasy X and never made it past Blitzball. All they did was just play Blitzball until they were tired of playing Blitzball, and they're like, "Oh wait, there's a whole other game. I don't feel like starting because then I have to do all the Blitzball again."
Because they
I'm
got
burned
to
out
the
on
Thunder
that.
planes and realized they had to dodge 100 Thunder and realized, what, Blitzball sounds more fun.
I thought it was 200.
200? Still. Now you realize they had to dodge 200 Thunders and then realize Blitzball is more fun. And never went back.
Like, I could dodge 200 Thunderbolts, or I could do 200 Jet Shots from the goalie post.
I mean,
I think that would make him some money though.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, you go on.
I remember you could actually cheese the Blitzball in a way. If you were winning by 1 point, what you could do was grab the Blitzball and swim behind your own goal, and you could stay there. Just
that sounds very sportsmanlike.
So you could win without doing anything. It's why you could use that to actually win the unwinnable match. The match is like, you're losing, but really you've won because you cheesed it.
Just one. I think if Square Enix did take this idea and put it out there into a game, you can make
us lots of money. I mean,
you could make it like obviously you could like customize a character, make your own character. You could even have like a fucking story mode to it through tournaments, kind of like that. And then you could have player versus player. You could have a ranking system. You could probably make it really good, and a lot of Final Fantasy people would probably play that. But I know they probably just won't have the resources of what they're doing now. So obviously they've got Final Fantasy 16 they're working on right now. A bunch of other games they're working on or trying to help publish. And I see it like if they made this game, they would make a lot of money. They would make quite a lot of money just from people with nostalgia effect and be like, oh, actually, it's Blitzball. I need to play it. And then they get addicted. But I think the balancing.
Look at The Witcher, and didn't they just recently release the Gwent standalone game?
No, that was out for a while.
Right. Well, what I'm saying though is that like people like play the mobile Gwent game, and they like play that shit like crack. It's crazy.
Yeah. Gwent. When did it come out? Apparently, the release date was 19th of May, 2020. Apparently, apparently, it did come out early.
They had loads of.
I'd say it wasn't super recent, but it wasn't like super forever ago.
But I feel like it's been forever because they kept emailing me about the closed stuff. I'm like, why? I don't play Gwent. But okay, thank you.
Like, where my Triple Triad at?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got cool art style. I'd probably play it. I might download it during the week, but yeah, I don't know. But I still think if Final Fantasy actually listened to the podcast and was like, oh, you know what, they could be right. Because I played, I don't know if anyone else played a game because I was a big Harry Potter fan. I was a big Quidditch Harry Potter fan. Where there was a game called Quidditch World Cup, and I was a big fan of that game. I wish they brought another one out. Honestly, that game, because I was a big sports kind of guy when I was younger. I still technically a little bit of a sporty now because I do like the NBA and stuff. I'm not a big football fan, but I do like my NBA. But going forward, I think if they made a sports game but fantasized, I would play the shit out of it. And obviously, I didn't play Blitzball. I didn't play 10. It's on a to-do list, but that to-do list is very long.
It's okay. I haven't finished 7, the original or the remake, so no judgment from me.
And it does look cool. I do like the kind of aspect of how you could make it. I see a lot of potential into it, and they could probably make I wouldn't say quite a lot of money, but they would make some money from it. I would definitely say they would. In a business sense, they would probably make 5-10% profit. But they would have to go into obviously balancing, and then again, you could possibly do fucking in-game. What's it called? In-game purchases. Could probably do that.
And that because Final Fantasy tries to not do anything that really affects the game when it comes to in-game purchases. So,
I mean, it wouldn't really
get that
affect it other
Titus
than
skin.
like, skins and all that. Probably like they're not gonna like give you any boosts. They're just gonna make you look like other Titus, or give you some cool weird skins.
Yeah.
But what we're all really here for is class predictions.
Oh, I have tons of those.
Tons of those, yes. And I'm actually really interested in this because I really want Necromancer to be a thing, because in WoW I play Warlock, and I'm very well versed when it comes to Dragon Age necromancy / blood magic, and I kind of like that. So let's talk up shop. So what is the predictions that we're talking about for the new expansion?
Well, unless Chili wants to go first.
No, because people then will say I know everything, so I'm gonna pass.
Well, Yoshi P. Chili is just Yoshi P with a poop hat on, but
yeah, everyone knows what I picked already, so I'm going to go with Chemist, and then I don't know. I kind of want to go. I take Pete's idea of Berserker, so because I had the idea. I noticed the fact that we have 3 magic DPS because Blue Mage doesn't count because it's a unique job. We have 3 range DPS, but we're not going to get a new one because we just got a range DPS. We've got 4 tanks, so we're not going to get a tank. We've got 3 healers, so again, Chemist is the healer. We have 4 physical DPS, but 2 use striking.
Yep.
1 uses scouted, which is kind of the same as the ranged, so they kind of share already. And the only one that doesn't share any gear is the Dragoon. So I feel like we're either going to get a ranged magic DPS to add a 4th one, or they might do a physical DPS that uses maiming gear, so that way it's a new job, but at the same time it'll still be sharing gear with one of the current jobs that doesn't have shared gear.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's funny you say that, because that's almost everything you said is like the cornerstone of my ideas and theories for jobs. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I want this and I want that, and they've already said in interviews like, hey guys, we're running out of time to invent new gear for all of these new jobs, and you got to look at it this way: the level cap goes up, and then when they introduce the new job, they got to make gear that works for 20 levels prior to the cap. You know what I mean? Because if it's going to be 90, the new jobs will start at 70, I believe.
Probably.
Yeah.
Something like that. So
no, I hope it stays at 60. If I'm honest,
I'll be honest too. I would prefer that as well. I don't like. I probably would actually like it to start more at 30, but 60 is a good in between road. But it's just
about the fact that if it does start at 70, we're starting at the original level cap.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, you got to look at it from a dev's perspective. Like, okay, we're increasing the size of the game. How can we make our lives a little bit easier? And I agree with the chemist. I think we're going to get a chemist or doctor or whatever they're going to call it. It's going to be like the non-magic based healer. I'm not quite sure what they would use as a weapon, but I think honestly, I know they have maces in the game. I could see them repurposing the maces or like the wands, I should say, actually, into chemist weapon. Because I always just think of like they have those little like those concrete bowls that they crush all of the ingredients in, and that's what they're using as their melee weapon, like a mace or some kind of wand that they're sticking in that bowl to like crush stuff up. So I definitely think we're gonna get a healer.
You talk about it not being magic based. I feel like, okay, this might be weird what I'm about to say, but I feel like the teacher we learn the job from will be normal. Like, they have to purchase everything because, physical based potions. But I feel like our character will have Aether infused potions. That way they can have it so that there's like a reason why we don't have to go to like the store and buy consumables, because look, our potions are magic.
Yeah, it's like the
bullets.
Aether imbued bullets. Yeah, like obviously Thanker can't do that. He has to get fucking people to do it for him. But
yeah, for us, we're like our potions are magic because we can do that.
Well, I was actually thinking it was gonna go another route, because let's look at the machinist for a second, and they have that I guess kind of you could call it like their ammo pouch on their hip. And what I was thinking is that little ammo pouch, like a chemist is gonna have a similar part of their weapon, and that little pouch, the satchel, is going to be, because everybody keeps saying like, oh, if we get a chemist, it's going to be a mixture of dancer and ninjutsu type mechanic where you have skills that are on some kind of rotation that you can do a mixture of them, and whatever mixture you do will result in a heal spell. I think that pouch is going to be like a passive ether absorption type device that this chemist created, so they can create, they pretty much boil down life and all of the elements into 3 main elements needed to make a potion or something. And if you put too much of 1 or 2 or 3 in, will determine what kind of potion you get. And that's like a passive thing. And I think it's going to be like a charge based ability, kind of like how a lot of the gap closers, you get like 2 charges on your gap closer, and then as you use them, you have to wait for it to refresh.
Well, more like the Aether packs for not Astrologian, but Aether packs for Scholar, or the Lilies for White Mage.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something like that, and you're going to get like 3 or 4 of, we'll say 3, different things, and you're going to hammer through those in some combination, and maybe some of them will be like, I think maybe they'll listen to some of the Astrologian feedback and say, let our cards do damage, or let me throw a card. And maybe some of those potions will be a damage spell, but the majority of them will probably be like a healing spell.
Yeah.
Or
I'm expecting some like damage ones, like our version of like a fire potion or whatever that will do. And then like a AoE potion.
What I think would be really neat, have you ever played 12?
A little bit.
So in 12, they have the class, and I know they do their classes a little different, but it's like, I believe they call it a grenader, kind of. They have grenades, and there's a class that just throws grenades, pretty much, like that's their weapon. I'd be cool if like the healer was throwing grenades, like here's a heal grenade, or jump on this for reals.
Or a potion, like throwing a potion, it does like a kind of splash effect. That's how I want it to play. Is that to make it even more kind of development? All your heals you kind of have to throw in like an AOE. So there's no like single target heals. You just have to like throw it at people. It's like And with the weapon, I
Yeah.
always thought that the weapon should be a slingshot. So you could like
That would
slingshot
be-
your heals.
Paul, I love you. That I never has it ever crossed my mind to like have a slingshot for a healer, and for some reason, I just envision that, and I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. I can just imagine a little Chili running around with a slingshot, just like, kid, Saint Chili will heal you. Slingshot.
Chili the Menace.
And like most of their like heals, okay, you could have like a single heal where you literally just like you do like a fucking a baseball throw and you just like throw it at like a tank or the next person. But you also have ones where you use the slingshot to kind of like aim it, and it's the AOE. So say you put your sacred soil down, or you put like that. It's like that kind of thing where you have to throw it down on the ground. But you have to like do it like around people. So it's more like that's how you play the class. You don't really like click on people. You literally have to throw stuff at people, like for on the ground. Like you would have to put it down, like you were putting down like an AOE or something.
But they're so annoying. Those I have to macro all those.
I know that's why
I guess that is a point. They would have to keep, and they are doing. They do really. I mean, they've said they keep the console players and the controller players in mind. Keep them really in the forefront, which I really like. I like that they do that when they're designing things, because they literally ask themselves like, but how would this go on a controller? So
By the way, about the chemist idea you had at the start about the magic pouch, that's a good idea in a way. But if the rumor's true, we are going to Gala mode. The only reason why I said that the teacher would use a physical base instead of magic is because the Garleans can't use any. They don't have any control of Aether. They have no ability to use magic at all. That's why they're such a technologically based, and that's why I went with the whole idea of no magic chemist for them.
I probably just wasn't clear. I mean, but what I was thinking was more of like, how they have their cerulean like farming devices, pretty much like a hip-sized version of that, and it's cerulean powered, and it just absorbs the like ether. Like they can't use magic, so they figure out a way to absorb it into technology, and then convert it into like some physical thing.
Yeah, but that would be for them, because obviously our character is Aether like incarnate. We have like so much Aether that we're using. Fucking how we're just like, we're just Goku and we can just do that.
Ultra Instinct.
Well, we can tap into the natural Aether as well. Remember, if you ever done the Black Mage quests and the Monk quests, we're able to tap into like any Aether that's around us. We're not just using our own.
Yeah, so, which is cool. But having
what you're saying is we're vampires.
Basically, we're Aether vampires.
We are the big titted vampire girl. That's what we are.
Which is why I was kind of spoilers, I guess, for a previous storyline. But when we found out about the Aether drying up on the source, I really wanted the twist to be that it was our fault, and the reason why every area that started drying up was actually where we'd been, and because we'd been like getting more powerful, we just started to become not a primal per se, but we started like absorbing enough Aether that was causing problems. Not enough that we're natural disaster, but just enough that there's like problems in the area with like the circulation because of unbalanced stuff.
Yeah, I understand that.
Speaking of places where we've been, it's funny that you mentioned Necromancer, because I know that Necromancer is on everybody's list and of jobs they want, but I also understand that necromancy and things dealing with the dead are kind of a faux pas.
Yeah, it's taboo.
Culture.
It's taboo in most signs of magic. It is very taboo.
Yeah. I have a solution. All right. I figured out a way to include necromancy in Final Fantasy XIV without it being taboo. And you haven't played the game, and I'm trying not to spoil it for you here now. But in Final Fantasy X,
10.
Yuna is they call her the she's a summoner. She summons the Aeons, and they do their thing. But her main job in Final Fantasy X is she performs the sending. Now, the sending is pretty much these summoners, these senders. They go around all of the different places, and they pretty much go where wars happen and where sin comes and destroys everything. And trust me, you learn about that in like the first 10 seconds of the game. And like they go around and they like send these spirits of the dead that are lingering in the world off to find peace. So everybody's talking about necromancy, like, oh, I want to summon ghouls and send my pets off to fight people and whatnot. And unfortunately, in my idea, this would be more of like a limited job. So I don't know if we want to continue with this talk and go into limited jobs later.
Okay, I'm going into this talk because I know a way that it can kind of be a actual job. Because obviously we went with the whole Square Enix that Square Enix doesn't want to do pets. They fucking hate doing pets. And now these are not pets, as I kind of like. You can have abilities where you could like summon up a like your attack could be, you know, undead archers like doing a volley, or you can do ghouls, not ghoul, a spirit kind of essence, more or less, just flying at. It could be a dot place class as well, where it could have like a really like cool dot. It could be like another form of summoner, just without the pets, but it has cool little kind of things to say. If I wanted to say I've been storing up all this like undead power and I could use it to summon, I don't want to say summon because it wouldn't really be a pet like we have pets now that actually stay out constantly. I would say it was like a 10-second thing where it does like a bunch of damage, like the Machinist Queen, where it comes out for a certain bit, then goes away.
Yeah.
Because that's not a pet. They changed that from being a living, breathable thing into a cooldown you use. That's what they could make their summon skeleton, their summon Goliath or whatever, summon undead thing. They don't have to make it a pet. They can make it as a cooldown they use. It's just an animation.
Well, it's funny you say that because my idea runs along a very similar thing, but just like stick with me for a moment on this because it gets a little crazy. The possibilities gets crazy, and this is why I kind of went the limited job route. Is you have your necromancer, you know, we have all these different cemeteries. So you go to your cemetery. We'll take your idea into account. So you go to the cemetery and you kind of absorb the death energy there and you subsume the spirits there so you can use them later as cooldown abilities. All right. But imagine if like the side content is similar to say like Final Fantasy XI's summoners solo fights against the primals and the summons in that fight to get primals, and you get tasked to go to all of the dungeons that you went to as your summoner or necromancer in this case, and your job is to pretty much perform the sending to all of the bosses at the end. Like imagine if you're doing like the vault and you get to the end of the vault and you're like releasing the bishop from the angst of dying in that battle. And when you do that, you then get that boss as like a summon or like a necromantic, you know, ability later on where you're like, okay, it's time to do this. And suddenly, you know, sickness must be purged. Dude pops up out of nowhere and just like blasts the field.
So basically, a little bit like Blue Mage, how they could take the spells of them. You'd say you would take them.
Similar to Blue Mage, except more so, like you said, like the Queen's Gambit. You know, it's like, okay, I invoke the spirit of this person. They arrive in a cool like animation. They perform their task. Like you said, they do their damage and then they leave.
Yeah.
They're like, boom, done. And yeah,
I like the idea.
That was just like,
I would see that as a really cool limited job. Like you have to go out and like do that. But obviously, my heart sets that I really want this to kind of be a job, so I could actually raid with it. Like it could have like corruption, like dots and stuff. It could have. Essentially, it could be like a warlock in WoW where it has like chaos bolt and all that. and it has like a kind of like a skull effect where you're like throwing like it could be like a skull bomb or some shit like that. Like that's what I really want. I really want to happen because my aesthetic is obviously I'm a big fan of magic, but I'm also a big fan of necromancy, demonology, blood magic from obviously that. And I think they could probably do like so much. They could do like I'll pull all on the Wowsy. No, I'm not on the Wowsy. It's more that I do want necromancy to come into Final Fantasy, but I'm kind of like taking it from different angles. And we already know that Yoshi P does take some stuff away from WoW, and WoW does take some stuff away from Final Fantasy. So I would like them to see another range magic, just because I'm a bitch and I'm literally gonna say, if my raid teams are listening right now, if necromancy is a thing, I'm sorry, but that's what you're going to be having me. If we have 3 ranged, that's it.
I will say now that necromancer would be too dark for them to add as a job title. I feel like for what they want as a brand of Final Fantasy 14. So if it did come out,
then Dark Knight, because Dark Knight has some really interesting stuff.
But I feel like if it did come out, they would dub it Void Monster.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I would take that as well, like a Void Monster kind of thing, like you pull stuff from the Void.
It wouldn't be like it wouldn't be called Necromancer. It'd be like Void Master of something to do with the Void, especially with the rumors about the fact that spoilers, the expansion might be in the Void in some cases. So
well, I was gonna say anybody who's completed the role quests, like all of them, there's like a huge thing that goes on after you do that.
I haven't done it yet, but I've heard all the rumors and stuff. So again, if it's going to be anything to do with necromancy, chances are it's going to have something to do with the Void instead.
I mean, technically, we already have the Necromancer title. Technically, if you do Pass of the Dead, and
the Necromancer in the dungeon.
Yeah, that's very necromancy. So technically, they still can just say, okay, look, you have a necromancer class. But obviously, because we already have a title, they'll probably change it to like something else. Obviously, the class name will probably change. But again, I'd still like to see if they could do that because I do like casters. I do like my ranged, and I'm playing a melee now is very weird. I'm playing monk right now, and it is like surreal of how difficult it is. And I can understand from Chili's aspect when we have high ping and we're trying to, raid, you cannot do a very optimal rotation. I wouldn't say rotation, but an optimal playstyle of monk. And I would love to see a new
you have to eventually twist it into your own sort of style.
And that's what I've been trying to do when it comes to obviously the American one. With my EU one, I'm just doing it fucking because obviously I have decent ping then. But I would like to see a new range because I do love playing range. My favorite class is the Bard, but I also want to see this like be a kind of a dot placed. I wouldn't say like full on dot because obviously
wasn't Bard dot based as well at one point?
Yeah, it still is dot based.
Yeah,
because obviously you have your 2 dots you have to keep on the boss constantly.
Yeah.
And I do love that. I have to keep an uptime of dots. But I also do love, obviously, the undead. Or I would say I do love the undead kind of sense of that I can bring demons and void monsters. Again, I'd be down for Void Mancer or some shit. Like, it'd be called like Void, like Mancer or something. That would be cool. Like, I could use these voidlings to do my damage, but also have like a kind of corruption. Like, I'd be down for that too. Don't get me wrong. But Necromancer, I do seem very that it's not going to be there. Like, I'm getting my hopes up. But again, as a limited job, I would probably still play it. I'll probably play that a lot. I'll probably play that on streams a lot, even if it was a limited job. So, but I don't think they're going to do a limited job just yet.
Oh, I feel like we're going to get a limited job in March.
In March?
My theory is, and Chili kind of already touched on this, is that we have 4 melee, we have 4 tanks. We technically only have 3 casters, 3 ranged, and 3 healers. And I think what's going to end up happening by the end of the Final Fantasy cycle, the life cycle of the
Yeah.
game in its entirety, we're going to end up having 4 full classes in each role, and just so they can reuse the models and reuse the gear and stuff like that, we're going to probably see a limited job for ranged physical DPS, melee, tank, and healer, as in gear-wise, not necessarily as like a role. And that I think that's going to be a thing. I think that's going to be a thing. And it's going to be pretty cool. I think we're going to get more limited jobs, and the more limited jobs we get, we're going to get kind of like, I don't know how to classify it, but we're going to start getting jobs that are like, okay, make a party of limited jobs and undertake this
Yeah.
pretty much puzzle fight, kind of. If that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like, hey, this is we went crazy. You can die in 2 seconds if you don't if you don't figure out a way to get through this. And there's going to be like 100 different ways to do it. And some ways you'll get it done in like 10 seconds, and other ways it'll take 20 minutes,
Well, they want the ability to have a duty roulette just for limited jobs, but of course they have to add more limited jobs before they can have a duty roulette. I'm expecting, I say March, but I'm expecting the announcement next week, at least, of Beastmaster being part of the 5.5 cycle. Because
Okay, so you're saying Beastmaster is a definite in your book.
Yeah,
in
my
your
book,
prediction.
it's
limited job for March.
Okay.
Well, I say March, but I don't think it might not be March, but I feel like in the 5.5 cycle. So it might be later on. But I feel like it's going to be content for people who don't do Ultimate. Because you'll have the Ultimate Raider. Because Blue Mage was normally like the last... Yeah, because we're getting a level cap already. Which is why I find it suspicious. Because that would be great content to add between now. Well, I say great content. Yeah. So Beastmaster might be something they drop in 5.55 or whatever it is in, I don't know, June or whatever. So when Ultimate comes out for the hardcore players, there'll be the Beastmaster for the casual players to still have a reason to keep logging in.
Yeah, and even for like anyone, because Beastmaster sounds cool. Like, don't get me wrong, you hear Beastmaster, you're like, okay, that's pretty interesting. And obviously playing with like animals and that, so you could be like a Beastmaster or from Hunter from WoW. So you could like name your pets and all that. I think that'd be pretty cool.
And I'm expecting it to be dual wielding axes because that's what they did in 11.
Yes. Honestly, I was about to ask you. I was like, all right, so you're in the beast camp with myself, but are you a whip boy or are you an axe boy?
No, I'm an axe. But because they can just shrink down the current axes they've got.
Yes, exactly. That's it. I've said that so many times. They're like, oh, axes. We already have big axes. I was like, yeah, and you know what? I would rather them save the time by taking a warrior axe, shrinking it down, giving me 2 of them, and then devoting that time to like something else. That's going to be awesome.
We don't need whips because that would add more time. They'd have to actually design the whips, make animations for them, make different colored whips. At least with the axes, they can just go, oh, look, we've got all these axes made. And downsized. Done.
Exactly. And like at the end of the day, it's like, I'm not saying whips aren't cool, but how many different ways can you make a whip and make it look different than the other whips?
I mean...
okay, you got a black whip. Now you got a red whip. Now you got a licorice looking whip, and then okay, we got some spikes on those whips, and we're gonna make colored spikes for those. And
licorice whip will come from cold saucer.
Have different types of whip.
No, but that involved more design work then.
Yeah, but obviously you could make him look different. So that's what I was kind of against.
Oh yeah, no, I'm being a little bit of a jerk about it. I apologize.
But again, as I said, it would take way too much effort to do for a limited job because they're not going to make it a main job because it's pet based. Even though I feel like I think Beastmaster would make the best tank in my head. I have an idea of how I would do Beastmaster as a tank.
Yeah, except PETA would be upset. They'd be like, you want the animals to take your damage for you? That's abuse.
Look, I would have like the crab from Final Fantasy 11, the courier crab, is your main pet. Yeah, maybe you could have other like glamour pets, but this is like the main pet you have, and it just like follows you around like normal and fights with you. Like you do like most of the damage, but the pet does like a tiny bit on top of your damage. Uh, and then when you use a cooldown, the pet shares the like let's just say you use Rampart. Instead of you taking a percentage damage down, the damage gets shared to the pet, and like because all the tanks have like their invincibility button, like the Gunbreaker reduces down to 1 health, the Dark Knight dies unless he's healed, the Warrior does something, and Paladin makes
Just is
himself
too angry to
invisible.
die.
Yeah, Paladin makes himself invincible. Imagine like the Beastmaster's like cooldown for that is you just swap your aggro with the pet for a short time and then it goes back to you afterwards. Like the pet goes invincible during that time as well to make it fair. That way it's still the same function, it's just a little visually different than like I'm now invincible. It's now Krabby is invincible.
Crab vincible. Yeah, I like it. I think honestly, I want for Beastmaster. I almost, and people have said this is an ambitious idea, but the idea that I had for Beastmaster, it's very similar to yours. You know, pocket pets. All right. But I also want to go the 11 route. I want to be able to charm pets out into the real world. All right. So but you also have your companion. So basically what I want is I want to be able to create my own 4-man party. Okay. With the pets of the Beastmaster and pretty much just be like, okay, I'm so and so. I'm the healer because I'm the Beastmaster, keep all my pets alive. And I want to be able to like charm a monster in a dungeon, you know. Be like, okay, monster, you're with me, and then summon another pet as my pocket pet, you know, and have my companion and just go nuts with it. I want to be like a 1-man army with the Beastmaster. Like that's my dream for Beastmaster. And just be a badass with 2 axes running around like a little animal general.
And then you remember how broke you got because all the jug pets cost a lot of money. Remember jug pets?
Jug pets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in Final Fantasy 11, stuff actually consumed stuff. So Beastmaster could charm natural enemies that you walked around and found. But if you went to an area that didn't really have charmable enemies or were higher level than you could like summon a jug pet, which was like crafted. But of course they were crafted, so yeah. Do you want these
and then
12 for
like
100,000
Archer, actually,
gil?
you had to buy arrows.
Yeah. And Ninja had to buy stuff so they could do ninjutsus.
Yeah.
And
everybody wants this game to come back.
Money. Yeah.
I
was
made
so
Ninja.
broke.
I was broke all the time.
Yeah. Then you brought food, and then you remembered you were in a cavalry camp, and they ate your food. See, unlike 14, there was an enemy that if you fought it actually stole your food effect from you. So you lost your food effect. And food wasn't cheap in 11. Soul sushi was like, what, 120 grand for 12? And they only lasted about half an hour, I think it was.
As I say, 30 minutes tops.
Yeah. So you would need, I would say in an average pie, you'd probably need about 26. And then if you were in that camp and you wanted to use them, double that because of the chance that the enemy stole your food. And you completely lose the buff. And you have to use it again. Such good times.
Good time.
Oh yeah, or the tonberries that would stab you, and the more times this tonberry stabbed you, the more the next tonberry would hurt when they stabbed you.
Oh yeah, they had like Family Feud thing, didn't they? Where...
Yeah, and it was an invisible buff or debuff, or however you want to call it.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't know you had it until it was too late.
Yeah.
Fucking Steve Harvey's gonna come out of nowhere and say, "Hey, you bad bitch!"
Basically, yeah.
Nani? Boom.
Nani? And then
Uh,
you just be like,
Then you had the
stab.
Tombury King that had like a buffed up version of all that. So any Family Feud, I guess you got with the Tomburys, Tombury King will pop out like stab you, instantly killing you.
So yeah, and then in order to get rid of that debuff, you would have to go to a temple which was filled with tonberries, and you would have to get to this altar to do like a ritual of some kind to get that invisible debuff taken off. So it wasn't like you'd like look at it and go, "Oh, you know what? At 50 points in this debuff, I get one-shotted." Like you couldn't just like look that up. You were just like, I don't know if I got the last hit on that Tonberry and got the debuff because we're in a party of like 5 people. Did you get the last hit? Oh, I don't know. So it was just like a crapshoot. So if you killed a bunch of Tonberries, you just have to like guess, be like, I think it's time for me to go get, my prayer on at the temple so they don't kill me in one shot anymore. Yeah, like I guess I'll go. It
Oh,
it was crazy. It was crazy. 11 was a crazy game.
and you had to get drops from those Tomburys, so you had to farm them anyway.
Yep.
So farm them, die faster. Yay!
The good
think I
old
saw-
days.
I think I saw a level 75 get one-shotted by a level like 20 Tombury because they'd had so much hate that even at level 20 they did enough damage to one-shot you.
Good times.
Times. Paul's just sitting here, it's like, I'm just doing background work. Don't mind me. That's all I did.
The Tonberries bound together and they all just attacked one person. They're like, eventually we'll have enough debuffs stacked on them. Attacking us like a party would.
It's like the Smurfs trying to attack Gardevoir. At some point, he will die. Really didn't.
So, what? Speaking of the Beastmaster, one of the things that I posted in your Discord, I posted this whole thing about Beastmaster and whatnot. One of the limited jobs that doesn't fall into my theory for limited jobs, with like, or just jobs in general, is the writer. And I don't know if you had a chance to look at that, but
the writer or the writer, like a scripture writer or
like
a writer
like a writer like on my Chocobo.
Okay.
And I feel like that would probably go into the Beastmaster coolness of it, but I don't know why. I don't know if I just watch too much anime or what, but I don't know. The writer just seems like a really cool job to me, where you're just always on a mount running around like a judge in Final Fantasy Tactic. And you're just like, I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
equivalently, you would be Odin because Odin is a mount riding,
Ooh, he could be the job coach person.
he could be the job coach. He could be like Chariot from fucking Hades or some shit like that. He doesn't talk. You just like, oh yeah, okay, I got you. It's fine. I know, like, it seems cool doing like mounted combat and stuff. I do think that would be pretty cool. Ethical because they would have to make a whole new combat system for it. And
yeah, I know.
It does sound
the only
cool.
idea that was out of the box that I was like, that's almost crazy enough to not work.
It's true, yeah.
It's so crazy it could work, and it went past that to the point where it's like, that's not gonna work. Damn it.
And also the other one you put was Sniper as a limited job, but technically that is already kind of I was about to say gun mage, but no, it's technically machinist. I think that's the only.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference that I see with Sniper versus Machinist, and I kind of based the Sniper off of Final Fantasy Tactics Sniper, because they have like that ranged assassin job. I think it's called a Sniper. And they have these mechanics where the farther you are from the target, the more damage their abilities do. And my whole thought with the sniper was, instead of having, the one-handed rifle, give them or not a one-handed rifle, a one-handed gun, give them a two-handed rifle. And when they go to attack, it's like a two-handed thing where they pull up the rifle and they shoot. And it's almost like a hunter type job, because the whole gimmick, we'll call it a gimmick or the mechanic or whatever you want to call it, the side content that the job would provide is you would have your hunt log, like very similar to all the other ones, but this would be like, okay, here's your target for this week, and you'd have some kind of notorious monster out there that if you ran up to it and just punched it in the face, even a regular, let's say even like a regular full job at level cap with best in slot gear, like if they walked up to this thing, it would probably get rocked, like no problem. Not the monster, the player. And the sniper, the whole gimmick is you find the monster, you find where the best vantage point is to attack the monster, and in between that point, like you would have like a crazy range ability where you can like look through a scope in a one person like mode, and you could like spot monsters afar with your scope, and you could attack them.
What they did for a couple of quests where you had to like put people to sleep.
Exactly. That's kind of what that's what kind of birthed the idea. I was like, more every expansion that comes out, every patch that comes out, the beast tribes have, I want to say almost every beast tribe after Heaven's Ward has a first person quest where you're like shooting something. Actually, I think in Stormblood. Yep, Stormblood and both Shadowbringers. They both have those, and then they started introducing more and more of them into the MSQ. So the job itself would be using that mechanic, but also being able to attack. And the big thing that you would do with this job is you would set up traps. So you're not just a sniper; you're kind of like a hunter. So that might be a better term for the job, because you're setting up these traps, and in these traps is like, okay, this trap will bind the target as it's running towards you, which will give you more time to DPS it down. And then this other trap will just slow it, and then this trap will knock it back, or this trap will just deal damage, like you'll have your mines and whatnot. And you're kind of like this assassin, big game hunter of Final Fantasy XIV with your long arm, and you're the whole mechanic behind it is, okay, well, who can hit the perfect headshot from the furthest distance, and who can kill this monster the fastest with X setup, almost like a mass carnival, but in the open world. And instead of like having, like, oh, use every type of magic that you have available, it's like, okay, take down this target, but only use one type of trap, or take down this target with no traps. And you could have different mechanics where you have different ammo. You can change your weapon, because the Blue Mage staff doesn't really have a lot of anything to it, except for the latest one that came out in this last patch when the level went up. They finally gave them a staff that has materia slots. So in this case, instead of having a gun that's like, okay, get plus 25 dex or whatever, like this gun is good against humanoids, and this bullet does poison or whatever.
So you could say attachments.
Say again?
So you could say you could put attachments on. They just have a standard sniper, and every quest you do, you get a certain attachment. So you could have like increases your accuracy, or increases your damage, does poison, or stuff like that.
Yeah, and that was just my idea. And then like for PvP, I mean, I'm not a huge Fortnite fan, but imagine if they added in another, gun using thing, and they were like, oh, for PvP, here's a very simple, pretty much Fortnite without the building. Like, hey, guess what? Now we have an FPS mini game that you can competitively play with your friends in Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know. It was just this crazy idea, and I don't think that part would ever happen. But I was like, oh, if they added more guns to this game, I could totally see them making because they have that game in the Gold Saucer where you're running around in a little shooter, boom, 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 and you're shooting the targets and whatnot. And I'm just
Yeah,
like,
but that's
I could
so
see
hard with a controller.
it's not easy. It's not easy, but I could
No, it's
see
easy, be cheeky.
a Gold Saucer, hey, we're gonna play paintball with other people with but you're a sniper and we're gonna shoot people for funsies with soft, non-lethal bullets. Yeah, America. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just my American coming out. More guns.
So, okay, so we kind of just went on to obviously the limited jobs there, but for actual
bad.
full jobs, what are we kind of thinking? So far, chemist is probably on all of our to-do list as the healer. I don't think there is going to be another healer that would come to mind. Unless Necromancer is going to become a fucking healer, but then that'd be weird.
It's a healer, but late.
Yeah, it's just a late healer. That would be cool though. Like, oh, someone's died in your party, we can bring them back, and then you have 10 seconds. It's basically like a living dead or some shit like that. And you can just keep bringing them back. That would be pretty weird, but it would be stupid. So chemist is kind of our
Healing the blood of our enemies.
the blood of our enemies.
Hooray!
And what else? So okay, so we're thinking I want Necromancer, but obviously it will not be called Necromancer, even though I've got Necromancer title when there is a bunch of Necromancers in the game anyway.
Oh, it's totally cool.
What else are we thinking? So I know Chili talked onto Berserker, and I haven't heard Vegan Pete's take on it yet. So Chili, if you could elaborate what that could be.
I think it's mainly because he wanted a two-handed axe class. Because he likes two-handed axes, which, as I said, I feel like it's going to be Beastmaster. But I feel like Berserker would probably... I don't know. I just don't know, really. That's the only one of the jobs I could think of, to be honest, that I've heard that's possible. Though it could also be called Viking, because there's also been Viking jobs in Final Fantasy.
That is true.
But what weapon would the Berserker or the Viking use, though? Because we already have sword and board, and we already have large swords, and then we have two-handed axes.
Single-handed axes, like I talked about Beastmaster with.
Okay.
The Viking job class in Final Fantasy 3 is gained from a water crystal. Viking swings a giant hammer and axe with ease.
There you go, hammer. Steal it from Gaia.
Yeah,
finally, the hammer.
She doesn't need any more. We can tap it.
Which I'm not saying hammers aren't cool, but hammers aren't that cool. Why does everybody want a hammer?
What do you mean hammers are not cool?
I mean, they're cool, but they're not that cool. I've heard people just fawn. They're just like, oh my god, the next job better use a hammer. And I'm like, why? What's so cool about them? And they're just like, because they're hammers. And I'm like, that's not an answer. It's just a dull axe. What are we gonna do with it?
Like, we want Geomancer. I'm like, why? Because they can use bells. So you're saying you want a Christmas Carol class?
I was about to say, I think the other job is going to be a Geomancer, and they might use bells. Or here's what I think is going to be the cool thing: acoustic hammers is how I described it, like a bell on a hammer, like a big hammer bell, like.
Snowbells ring.
I don't know. It made sense in my head. I think Berserker would be cool. I think it would be cool. The problem is that the way they designed the game, it's just they're like, oh, it has to have its own special, specific weapon, or it doesn't work. So
Yeah.
unless they
hammer
start
would be.
making swords or axes specific to classes and not, you know what I mean? Like this is a Viking axe versus a warrior axe.
Plus, it'll play too much like Warrior, because Warrior is
Or,
basically a
or, or
berserker.
it could be a one-handed axe with a shield. We don't know,
That'd be cool.
because Vikings did have that. They did use shields and axes. They used shields and swords. They used shield and hammers. They used fucking shields and morning stars. You know, it's cool. I'm still kind of down with the hammer or the kind of the mace kind of thing, because obviously pull metal mace. I would love to see a mace class. I would probably switch to it, because then I could actually like change my character's name to Paul Metal Mace. But because I think that would be cool. Like, but
Oh, you know what? We could hit two birds with one stone. All right, check this out. You got a whip, you got a mace. You put those together, a flail. Right? Think about it. So you're just like your attacks would be like you're like whipping around a mace on like the end of a chain. That would be pretty. I think that'd be cool.
I mean, flails are pretty
Like
cool.
a morning star.
Yeah, well, a morning star. A morning star is just basically a ball on a thing. So it's
Yeah, that's what I meant. Morning star with the ball and the thing.
Why does that sound like more like an adult version ball on a cup? Ball on a thing.
Well, it's okay if you miss. It's on a string, so you just swing it again.
there are different types of morning stars. You can just have a morning star that is technically just a long stick with a
Ball on a
spike ball on it. Instead, would be a mace. But there is also one where it's a two-hander, where it has like built like a two-hander, but it also has a ball and chain on it. And so
So it's like something you get free with an eternal bonding. Here's your ball and chain.
It's a part of a special DLC package for the eternal bonding. It's the kink package. Get your own customary flail to go with this.
I mean, a flail would be cool. It's just more in the sense of, if we think about it, a hammer has already came in. Obviously, to Gaia, she has been swinging it around like it's nobody's business, and so we could see something like that. That could even be time at mage for all we know, or because she controls time, as we saw in her fights when we fought her. She used time, she stopped time, and all that. So we could get an element of that. It is a.
Also, remember that I know it's a glamour. Well, it's not glamour, but warriors do have a hammer in the dwarf village.
Yeah. So we can have hammers in the game. Like, yeah. I know a lot of people don't like hammers. I like hammers because they're bludgeoning of death. Like, I can crush your bones instead of like cut your head off. I will crush it.
Let me make this clear. I don't dislike hammers. I just don't think hammers are as cool as some other people.
Yeah.
There are some people out there who are like hardcore, like hammer time. Like, okay.
To me, I still like monk the most when it comes to fighting. I prefer fisticuffs.
Fisticuffs.
Well, that's it's so unfortunate too. Speaking of monk, real quick.
By the way, one second. Magic Moo.
You think about weapons.
Magic Moo agreed. Don't let this man have a hammer.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just that monk took. It's good that they did this because they need to add variety to like the monk arms or weapons or whatever you want to call them. But monks, they gave them so many different types of weapons for their designs. Like they gave them claws, they gave them the tonfas, they gave them, brass knuckles, cestus. Like they gave them all of these different things. And now it's like, okay, well, what could Berserker have? Oh, claws. That'd be really cool. Like animalistic claws. Well, no, monk already has claws. That's too bad. All right, well, what about this other job? We could give him tonfas. Nope, monk's already got those. It's like, damn it, monk. You took everything. Everything.
By the way, I'm going to go back to 11 here, sorry, but I still remember the fact that you had blunt, piercing, and slashing damage in 11. We used to have it in 14 till they removed it. But Monk was blunt based damage normally. But because some enemies were resistant to blunt and piercing and slashing, Monk was actually one of the most, well, not overpowered, but one of the most versatile jobs. Because over time they added like weapons that also did slashing and piercing damage for Monk, so Monk could do all of them. And then eventually they added formless strikes, which meant that your for a short time your physical Monk attacks became non-elemental magic attacks. So you could then attack magic-based enemies as well as physical-based enemies. So Monk was basically everything.
It's funny you say that. I'm going to just tell one quick Final Fantasy XI Monk story. Basically, as you just described, monks were known for doing blunt damage, and there was a particular quest in 11 for the main storyline, and that quest, you had to go fight like a skeleton, like I don't know, it was like an army of skeletons in a dungeon or a cave or something. So they were like, hey, if you want to do this, you have to bring a monk. And I just so happened to be leveling a monk. So I was like, okay, it's time to do this quest. I have a monk. Let's do this. And I literally was the last person standing. There was like 6 skeletons still up. And I still finished the fight because I forgot what I subclassed, but I had a little bit of healing. And I just like punched skeletons in the face like all day. I was like, "Pa! Screw you, skeleton!"
Talk about those sort of quests. I still remember because they had the fellowship system where you could bring like a NPC out to help you, but you had to go do a quest and you had to kill a not complete really difficult enemy, but it was slightly difficult even at max level. But anyone could click it and spawn the enemy. So at first, people were just rushing to click it and it was murdering everyone. But at least on my server on the first day, when they realised that if too many people clicked it and spawned it, it would kill everyone, that they just made an orderly line. Everyone just stood behind each other and waited like half an hour as they clicked it, moved forward, killed their thing, ran out. They just had an orderly line waiting to fight this one enemy. Good times.
Hey, Bob, come here often? No, just here to kill the guy again.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Everyone just had an orderly line waiting. And it was great because it was a not a lowish level area, but it was like level 40 to 50 area. So some people would go there to level. But yeah, that people would actually if they saw someone in trouble, they'd like step out the line for a second, help that new person out, and then step back in the line, and they'd be like, "Yeah, good work." Good times.
The good times. The good days. The good old days. When people helped each other in MMOs.
Not like kill everyone like in the Red Chocobo. Remember that? Where everyone died because Meteor? I remember that. Because nobody wanted to wait.
In Stormblood? Talking about the Stormblood Red Chocobo?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the worst.
Yeah, nobody wanted to wait for anyone else. Everyone just wanted to spawn their own. So everyone died. We're already dead.
It was terrible. I still have PTSD from that. It was just not good. I remember trying to solo it, and I was like, why can't... This is MSQ. This is supposed to be easy. Why is this murdering me so easily?
Nothing's ever easy. I mean, yeah. So I was doing stuff. I was typing and chatting.
I think
obviously I didn't play 11, so I don't have these stories of 11. I don't know how 11 kind of played. I've watched like Chitty play it. I watched Talon play it when they were playing. Recently, last year, they had a little go onto it and stuff. And yeah, it looked like hell.
It is, but it's that kind of hell that you sign up for, like.
It's the hell you sit around 12 hours a day doing fishing for.
Oh yeah.
But no,
it's one of those games where I'm like, man, I really want to play this game, but I just don't have the time to play this game.
I want to
They're
play
like,
it,
why don't you have the
but
time to play this game? I'm like, oh, because it takes hours to do the simplest task. They're like,
I
oh,
want
why
to.
would you want to play that? I was like, because it takes hours to do the simplest task.
I want to play it, but my laptop doesn't want to play it because uh, my laptop has an integrated GPU and an actual GPU because I've got my laptop has a 2070. But Final Fantasy
Ah.
11, because of how old it is, doesn't recognize the GPU. It only recognizes the integrated GPU. So the frames are just horrible because as you know, integrated GPUs are the worst. So yeah. It's like, yeah, I can play Final Fantasy 14 at 100 and something frames. I can play Final Fantasy 11 at 20. Yay!
Yay! 20
It
frames.
sounds like heaven.
Sounds like
Sounds
the
like good
90s.
old
Well, the
days.
early 2000s again when I could only play it at like 30 frames because my PC could only run it at that much because I spent all my money buying the game because of how much it cost. I didn't want to wait till the American release because this was back when Final Fantasy games took forever to get released in Europe. So I ordered it from America from an independent game shop, and they charged me £100 for the PC version, which at the time
I was like,
would have
I don't know what 100 pounds is. Is that a lot?
at the time £1
Sounds
was
like a lot.
$2.
Oh.
£1 was $2
Oh.
at the time.
Oh.
So
Oh.
so that was for the PC version. Not even the PS2 version that came with like a hard drive. That was $200 for the PC version. This was back.
And it was the
before,
greatest game ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
So much money spent.
But it was worth it.
Was it?
Was it really?
I think it was worth it. I played it on the computer, and my brother played it on PS4. Good times. Except he played it on PS4 with a mouse and keyboard, I think, actually, now that I think about it. And then I played it on computer with a controller, because, I don't know, I wanted to be weird, I guess? I don't know.
You're talking about 11.
Yes.
So you mean PS3 then? PS3 or PS2?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's what I mean. PS3.
Okay.
No, 2. PS2.
PS2.
Yeah.
Because you could run it on PS2 with backwards compatibility mode, but I mean PS3 backwards compatibility mode, but yeah, it originally came out on the 2. Like 4? Man, I'm older than I think if it was on 4. Yeah. I'd still be playing it, to be honest. If it was on the PS4, I'd still be playing it.
Yeah, I've always said, I was like, I would play this again if it got a graphical upgrade.
I don't even care about the graphical upgrade, to be honest. As long as I don't have to use that stupid Play Online client. That's all I care about. I still hear the song in my nightmares. I cry at night as I hear the song of Play Online. Like rock backwards and forwards, screaming. If Freddy Krueger was real, his main theme song would actually be the Play Online theme.
I believe it. I believe it.
That not the horror ass. Yeah, they got it completely wrong with the horror. It would be that. I'm sorry. Especially with the 56k modem download speeds, it would be. Yeah, that would be the nightmare song.
Final Fantasy 11 music of Play Online. Interesting.
I'm surprised that. Well, I guess I'm not surprised. Well, maybe a little surprised that they didn't. Well, because they have the Square Enix account, and I'm surprised they didn't combine the two. But at the same time, it's like I'm glad that they didn't, because it's terrible. landline is the bane of gaming existence.
Right, so we are coming up to our 2-hour mark. So let's try and wrap this up a wee quick because it'd be 2 hours.
Got some rating to do.
No, actually, I've opted out because also Arby's also opted out. She's not feeling well today, and I am mentally not feeling well, and I've only slept for like 2 hours. So
Gotcha.
um,
All right.
Have we no raid tonight then?
I don't know. Pete wants to do something, but I don't know.
Okay.
He hasn't typed anything in yet since I typed. So right, so what we're gonna do? So Chaos, you got any shout outs, and where can they find you?
I can be pretty much found anywhere and everywhere. Mostly on Twitch. I stream Final Fantasy 14 content on Wednesdays. Let's see, 7 o'clock. What is 7 o'clock for you guys? Basically, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is when I start. I also stream on Sundays, but that's like my Soulsborne content. Just recently finished platinuming Bloodborne, so I will be starting Sekiro actually this Sunday. So besides that, I'm on Twitter at Chaos Unfolding, and yeah, pretty much Chaos Unfolding TV and/or just Chaos Unfolding. Any social out there, you pretty much will find me. And yeah, I love me some Moogle Go Round radio. You'll find me here on occasion.
If I meet on occasion. You got any other shout outs? Any friends you want to shout out? Any stream buds you want to shout out?
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think. I got my boy Rory Senpai. He's a huge guy, streamer guy. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Rory Senpai. He's over on the West Coast, so he's across the dirt from me, not the pond. And he streams Final Fantasy 14 content, and he's still trying to clear the Savage Edens, but he's doing pretty good. So I'm shouting him out to give him some luck and some love because he's killing it in the Savage. And once he gets a good static, I think he's going to get those clears no problem. But besides that, yeah, I mean, everybody's cool. Everybody's cool. I love everybody.
Sounds good. Chili, how can they find you? And have you got any shout outs?
I want to shout out to Magic Moo. I see them in chat. They just said they hit the notification button, so thank you so much. I'd like to shout out anyone that's in the chat.
He took my shout out.
Huh?
What? Damn.
I'd like to shout out to Paul for letting me to take his shout out. But seriously, I'd like to shout out anyone who joins the chat. If he hits the follow button and just joins us, I can't wait till next week because next week's going to be busy. So I will be streaming more Yakuza on Monday. Well, I'll be streaming Yakuza before this pod goes live, but Monday's probably going to be the last Yakuza stream for a while because we're going to have patch on Tuesday, right? Yeah, patch Tuesday.
Monday?
So...
Are you taking my stream days? Or...
Sorry, yeah, shit, I'm not even streaming Monday. Yes, no more Yakuza for me.
I'm just like, what the hell? It's like a Monday.
Look, brain not thinking right. Okay, I'm just thinking that patch is Tuesday because that shocked me because I didn't expect it so soon. I'm still expecting like in a few weeks. Poor
rolled left, right, and centre. He's getting robbed everywhere.
But no, so yeah, tomorrow will be the last Yakuza stream. But by the time this goes live, this will already happened. So last week would have been the last Yakuza stream for now. Depending on the patch content on Tuesday, of course, I might end up going back to Yakuza on Wednesday because I'm enjoying Yakuza. I just unlocked the money management sim thing, and yeah, I can't wait to unlock Dragon Carts and more stuff like that. So yeah, shout out to everyone that listens.
Yeah.
Woo!
Woo!
Again, hey guys, thank you very much for having me on again. I love talking to you guys, and I love catching your guys' streams when I'm available to do so. So thank you again for giving me the opportunity to hang out with all y'all.
I mean, this is probably the most we've been talking about Final Fantasy. So actually, this isn't like this and like entirety of next month. I'll talk about a lot about Final Fantasy. Other than like one episode where I've already announced it. We're having Susan Calloway on. So
I know. I told Chili, I was like, I'm not cool enough to be on your podcast anymore. You guys have Susan Calloway coming on this thing next week.
I still
next
can't do
Thursday.
that. So yeah,
You guys may want to learn Final Fantasy. Well, Magic Moo, there is a free trial.
there's a free trial up until Heaven's Ward, and that's a very expansion as well.
It's an unlimited free trial, so you don't have to like rush through it either. So if you just want to take your time and just enjoy it, yeah.
Honestly, Magic, you and your missus will fucking love playing it. Honestly, it's a really good game to play with like other people. Like, trust me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if you want to hit me up, because obviously I know you personally, so you can like message me and I'll be down to play with you guys and show you the ropes. It's a fun game. But yeah, Chili, how can they find you?
You can find me at your local church at MG_Chili.
Saint Chili has spoken. Let us pray. Are we gonna have an end prayer?
No, I made one up at the start. You think I could make two up? That involves a lot of brain power.
Hey,
and
heavy is the head that wears the saintly crown. All right.
Look, I even glamored like a Pope hat on my character, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
We all can't be cool like you, though, Chili. We all can't be cool like you.
Can't be saints like Chili. Okay, so I guess it's my turn. So my shout out, I'm going to say it is also to my personal friend Magic Moo 5K. He streams as well, so go check him out over there. He's a cool dude. I watch his streams. I'm personally good friends with him. He plays WoW, Valorant. He's a big nut about Lord of the Rings. He loves Star Wars. Really big into the WoW lore as well. But he's also studying ancient history. So if you want to go over there and learn some stuff about history, he'll happily talk up some biz with you. Also, there is also another streamer I want to shout out. Who is another good friend of mine, and I kind of want to see him get affiliate. He's trying to push for the affiliation status. And that is, I'm trying to find their thing real quick. There's also this guy. He's trying to get affiliate. He's a Final Fantasy streamer. He does yeah, you can drop a link. No. Yeah, I am fast. But basically, he is a Final Fantasy. He plays on he doesn't play on console, but he plays on controller. He's doing ultimate raids and has completed. I think he's completed this raid here. But he's a cool guy. I play Phantasmaphobia with him. I've actually played a couple of games with him. He's a really nice guy. So go check him out. Go give him some love. And obviously my man Magic Moves. He's a really cool stream. He's a cow. He's a wizard cow. Pretty cool.
Or should I say moo?
And obviously you can find me on Twitter at PaulMel1. You can find me here during the weekends where I stream my Final Fantasy raids. And if you want to see me play Lords of Vermilion and complete all the achievements and get all the stuff from Lords of Vermilion, then all you gotta do is complete the community challenge that started, get to 70k channel points or Jeff Fishies, and I will do that. But there's a poll up right now. It'll be done because it literally ends in like a few hours. To see what I play after my raids. It's between I don't actually know what's winning. Actually, what's winning? It was Hades the last time I checked was winning. Scroll. Yep, Hades is winning. So it was a thing between Cyberpunk, Dragon Age, and Hades, and so far Hades is winning. So probably see me play Hades a lot. So yep, and have a I don't know. How do we want to end this? Again, thank you for Chaos for joining us and talking up shop about Final Fantasy classes. And I still want Necromancer. So shall we all say our goodbyes?
Goodbye.
Bye, y'all.
See you next week with Susan Calloway.
And
God,
also
it's so
our
cool.
reactions to the live stream. Bye.
Bye.